Hello there, my name is Pavor Steinmach and now we'll unveil the top news of recent days. French President Macron does not rule out sending NATO troops to Ukraine. He stated this after the end of the conference on support of Ukraine held in Paris. He added that the present leaders of the countries did not reach a consensus on this very issue.
I've never said France was not in favor. I will not lift the ambiguity of tonight's debate by naming names. I said that it has been evoked as part of options. I've told you the 5 points where there was an established consensus. These points are completely put in place, but we should not exclude that there might be a need for security that then justifies some elements of deployment. But I've told you very clearly what France maintains as its position, which is a strategic ambiguity that I stand by. Nothing should be excluded to pursue our goals.
Macron also said that Western partners have created a coalition to supply with medium and long-range missiles and bombs. As we stated earlier, the defeat of Russia is necessary for security and stability in Europe. And what do we see now? Pro-Russian politicians across Europe are bursting with these statements by Macron. Their voices of politicians funded by the Kremlin are heard one after another. Everyone who received rubles in exchange for loyalty, they probably feel fear. Let me remind you that earlier the French president said that Russia will never win in Ukraine. After all, the West will not allow Russia to win. And France and Ukraine signed a security agreement. Paris guarantees weapons and money until victory over Russia, forms a missile coalition, speaks for NATO and the EU for Ukraine. And this is exactly what Russia is really afraid of. It is afraid of power. The Kremlin constantly scares the world, but it fears itself more than anyone.
Головна тематика.
The main topic was everything that strengthens us in Europe, our resilience and capabilities. Of course, our arsenals, our ability to produce weapons, the supply of weapons to Ukraine, and the continuity of support. Everything we do together to defend against Russian aggression adds real security to our nations for decades to come. Because each of Russia's losses and each of Russia's defeats teach Russia and any other enemy of Europe and the free world at large that aggression does not and cannot yield results. Cooperation and determination are the two answers that everyone should give to the question of ending the war and bringing peace closer.
Russia has already lost in the invasion and is now looking for an opportunity to freeze the war in order to quietly prepare a new army and try again. Moscow needs time to create discord among Ukraine's allies. Moscow needs time to accumulate missiles, tanks, planes and infantry. However, the voices of the Western power are getting louder, and France will not be alone in that. The European Union will not stand aside. NATO will not stand aside. Voices in support of Ukraine will become louder and more decisive. Already this year, our aviation will switch to F-16. Already this year, we will have even more weapons and even more funds. And this scares Moscow like nothing else. Now the EU is buying ammunition all over the world for Ukraine. NATO countries supply weapons because there are no more fears. Everyone understands the dictator no longer has leverage over the world and cannot dictate terms to anyone. Everyone understands it is time to show strength and make the Russians afraid. Putting Moscow in its place will soon be a norm, but not a phenomena in the European Union. We once heard, "There will never be planes for us." We once heard, "There will never be tanks for us." We once heard, "There will never be a missile for us." Now someone can say that NATO soldiers will never fight with us against the Russians. We've already been through it. So it remains to wait a little, especially since the president of the Czech Republic has already allowed 20 citizens to join the armed forces of Ukraine, so there will be more. The European Parliament approved €50 billion aid package to Ukraine. 536 deputies pressed yes. There were only 40 politicians in all of Europe who pressed no. By the way, how Russians feel who said that the West is tired of the war against Ukraine. €50 billion will be transferred to us over 4 years. Earlier, it was announced that EU countries have pledged to allocate €21 billion in military assistance to Ukraine for the current year. The EU also wants to train another 20,000 Ukrainian soldiers, bringing their total number to 60,000. It is essential and decisive to demonstrate Europe's complete reliability and the effectiveness of its decisions. Meanwhile, unfortunately, the implementation of the European plan to supply 1 million artillery shells for Ukraine is being delayed again. And this too is a signal of global competition in which Europe cannot afford to lose. Europe today sends a signal across the Atlantic and the world. that the international rules-based world order will withstand all challenges, Europe sets the tone for global affairs with its unity.
Yes, we are delivering, although with a 2 months delay because of the Hungarian veto in December. Now we have enabled the Commission also to pay out the first 4.5 billion probably at the beginning of March, and thank you for that. The objective thereof is, of course, during the war, to give the larger part for budget support for Ukraine in order to keep the state running and the functions going. But it is one process. It is budget support, but it's also not only preparation, but also about reconstruction ongoing. It's about future investments and to deliver the expertise that we need for the process that will automatically be part also of the pre-accession process, because we cannot separate it artificially.
The Russian dictator will be defeated by Democratic Union as the Budapest veto was overcome by the European Union. The Hungarian parliament officially approved Sweden's membership in NATO. Hungary was the only country that did not ratify the Swedish application.
I welcome the Hungarian parliament's vote to ratify Sweden's membership in NATO. Now that all allies have approved, Sweden will become the 32nd NATO ally. Sweden's membership will make us all stronger and safer. Jens Stoltenberg, Secretary General of NATO, on social network X.
Sweden's membership will be finalized after the ratification documents are deposited with the US State Department, and NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg will offer Sweden to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And we in Ukraine are very happy about Sweden joining NATO. First of all, now our country has become the first in the queue for admission. Perhaps only Bosnia and Herzegovina will be in front of us. But it is more important that Sweden is ready to provide gripping fighters to Ukraine after the Swedish application to join NATO is finally approved. This readiness was confirmed on the sidelines of the Munich conference by Swedish Defense Minister Paul Johnson. Now, according to Johnson, the efforts of the Allies are focused on the transfer of American F-16 fighter jets to Ukraine, which are ready to be provided by the Netherlands, Denmark, Belgium and Norway. But as the Swedish minister said, if we can help in any way, we will also be happy to consider the possibility. Ukraine is waiting. That concludes our today's video. Thank you for watching. Stay updated, comment, like and subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine. Your support is that really matters. Goodbye.